Hi guys, I hope you're well. So this video is all about how to plan your interrailing trip, including how to choose your route, things to think about when you're planning, as well as how much you need to plan and how much you can actually be flexible with. And if you see my first Interrail introduction video, then I talked more in detail there about what passes you can get with Interrailing, and I'll insert them here because they're on the Interrail website, so definitely head over there and see what options you have. But by the time you finish this video, you should hopefully have a better idea of what pass is going to suit you, so stick around to the end so then you can decide. The first thing that you need to do is figure out when you're going and how long for. Do you have to go in the summer months, or can you go on the shoulder months, so just before summer or just after summer? The weather's still normally quite nice then, but it's not as busy and in peak times as summer would be. And then also deciding how long for, because then this is already going to start to kind of help you decide which pass is best for you, because some of them last longer than others. The next thing to do is think about your budget, so how much you want to spend. So even if you want to go with the flow, it's really important to know what your budget is, because the last thing that you want is to run out of money or be restrictive when you're there because you've spent it all in the beginning. So if you plan your budget straight away, then you'll know what you've got to spend and can go from there. I am going to do another video following this all about budgeting and the best tips to kind of save your money as you're traveling around Europe. But as a starting point for this video, I would suggest looking at the cost of the pass that you think is going to be the one that you choose, and then times in about £70 per day for how long you want to stay there for. And then that can kind of give you a bit of an overall budget of how much you're probably roughly going to spend. And then if that looks like it's going to be a bit too much, then maybe you should think about reducing your days or the amount of time that you spend in each country. But also £70 is kind of more on the higher end of how much you'll spend per day. And as I say, in my budgeting video, I will talk about how you can kind of really reduce that and spend much less per day. But it's better to kind of budget a little bit higher and save money as you go along. So then, to start deciding where to go, I think it would be really helpful if you think about your bucket list. So start to write a list of places in Europe that you've always wanted to go to. Then I would then say using the Interrail planner website, because this is so useful of being able to dot around all the different locations and seeing how they link up with different routes. And so I'd say, as a starting point, put in the destinations that you really fancy going, and then you can kind of see where they are on the map, and then you can see, does it kind of form a loop, because that's an ideal scenario that you're after. Or if not a loop, then at least a line, and you can consider maybe flying home after you've kind of reached that final destination. Start to see if you're going to be able to do all of those bucket list places, or maybe you're going to have to just focus on a few because they make more sense in that kind of route. And then you can start to focus more on that area. Is it a really long journey from this point to this point? So what's in the middle that I could stop off at? So at this stage, say you've struggled to kind of find a loop, or you just need a little bit more inspiration, then I definitely have a look at what other routes other people have done when they've done interrailing. Start to get some inspiration, see what works, and then start researching those places and seeing if they match you. So are you an active person? Do you want a more relaxing holiday? Do you want good nightlife or good food? If you're wanting to kind of go a little bit more with the flow, then maybe at this stage, obviously you don't need to decide exactly what place you're going to go to, but at least start to come up with a list of places that you know would suit you if you ended up there. You need to start researching the costs and seeing how expensive each country is and whether that kind of suits you, as well as looking into the accommodation and whether there's quite a lot of options, as well as transport when you're there. Is it easy to get around? I would personally say that if it's your first time kind of backpacking around Europe and doing interrailing, then it's really good to have a mix of different kinds of countries, some that are a little bit more chill and you can relax and like revitalize, and then others where, you know, it's a bit busier, hustle and bustle kind of vibe, so you kind of have that overall kind of experience. The next thing that I would do in the planning process is check the Interrail timetables and start to work out your travel days. I mean, this is a little bit more relevant for those of you that are going to choose the pass where it's X amount of travel days for a certain amount of time, because then you do need to kind of decide when your travel days are going to be. You can also consider night trains as well, well, maybe that could save on accommodation. If you get on the train before midnight and then get off the train after midnight, yes, you've been traveling in 2 separate days. Technically it only counts as 1 travel day. And also the train timetable should give you a good idea of whether you need to book any seat reservations. This is more common for like quicker fast trains as well as night trains, but my tip, no matter how much you plan in detail, is obviously you'll have your Interrail pass ready with you where you write down the time and the place that you're leaving from and the place that you're going to, but don't fill this out until you're at the station ready to board that train. Obviously do it before you get on the train because sometimes you get in trouble, but do it when you know for certain that this is the train that you're going to get on, because even if you've planned out your whole itinerary, sometimes things can come and change the plan, and that can be a good thing, but the last thing that you want is to kind of mess up your pass. And after going through all of these different planning steps, you then should have a better idea of what pass you want to choose. So obviously it comes down to a few factors like how long you want to travel for, how many places you want to visit, how flexible you want to be, and how much you want to spend. As an overall kind of consensus, I would say that the continuous pass, where you can travel on as many days in that month or 2 months as you want, is definitely more for those of you that want to be more flexible and kind of go with the flow in these scenarios. But these passes are normally more expensive, and of course as well you'll probably end up traveling to more destinations, so this is going to be more for those of you that have got a bit of a higher budget but you do want to go with the flow and not plan it out in so much detail. So then I would then say that the flexible pass, you've got a certain amount of travel days in a certain amount of time. So I chose just the 5 days in 1 month pass, but this does require a little bit more planning because you definitely don't want to mess up your travel days and run out of them. But this is normally a little bit cheaper, so it definitely suits you if you've got a bit of a smaller budget but you're willing to put more work into the initial planning stage and work it all out. And if you are going to change destinations when you're there, then just making sure that you're checking that Interrail planner app and seeing that there's a link to be able to kind of get home all within your travel days and all within that time frame of your pass. And then some other kind of quick fire things to think about at the planning stage is your travel insurance. COVID is something that you need to consider in the planning stage and definitely all the way throughout your Interrailing trip, keeping up to date with the different regulations of your country as well as the countries that you're going to. Thinking about money and currencies, so I'll talk more about this in the next budgeting video. Packing and kind of how much to pack, what to pack. I'll do another video about this and my suggestions of how much to take and what bags to take, etc. Also thinking about your phone, SIM card and a data package. As I mentioned previously, your accommodation, so I would definitely suggest for Interrailing the most common places to look at are hostels. So Hostel World was one that I used quite a lot. Airbnb can just be as cheap as hostels and more exclusive to you and really nice, but just kind of less so with meeting new people. But if say you're just going with some friends and you're just happy with it being you, Airbnb is amazing. And booking.com is of course as well, like for hotels. And as well, this is one that I didn't use, but it's definitely for those of you that are maybe planning on traveling alone, is couch surfing. But I would say with this, you need to just make sure that you're reading all the reviews of the people that you're going to go and stay with and making sure that you're as safe as possible. And then also thinking about things that you want to do in each place. But this definitely leads me on to my final point of this video, and that is not to plan too much. Now obviously, as you can tell from this video, there is quite a lot of planning that goes involved into a trip like this, and it is really important to plan. But I think when it comes to working out things to do, it's good to kind of have an idea and maybe just a bit of a list of things that you hope to do in those destinations, but definitely kind of leave it open for when you're there, because The great thing about Interrailing is just really exploring all the different cultures and all their authenticities within those places, you know, speaking to the locals and seeing what they recommend, and just see where the days take you, because sometimes some of the best experiences are those that are a bit more spontaneous. If your whole route is planned and everything else is planned, sometimes it's nice to just have that bit of a flexibility to think, oh, I don't know what we're doing today, like maybe let's go do this. That concludes how to start planning your Interrail trip, and I hope it's helped make it less overwhelming. Do let me know in the comments below if you've got any more questions or thoughts, and also let me know, are you going Interrailing this year? I want to know, like I'm so excited for traveling this year. And if you enjoyed the video, then please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, because there's so many more videos to come and it genuinely really helps me out and I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.